Hey everybody, welcome to the epic Final Fantasy 15 pre-show. Man, Shay, I cannot wait until we get this game next week. By the way, I'm joined by Shay.
Hey guys.
Yeah, isn't it so exciting that we're going to get the game next week?
Yes, so exciting.
Yes, so of course we're not. Shay and I covered the unveiling event for Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah, we did.
And I've been kind of waiting until all the media has been out since the announcement for us to basically talk about how things have gone since
Oh,
March. So, since March, they've doubled down on footage. They've been showing too much, and I've kind of steered away. I don't know if you have as well, but
I just noticed. Well, when I was on YouTube to watch Brotherhood and get caught up on it, I saw that there's like 157 videos,
yeah,
and I laughed. I'm like, oh, this is probably just the trailer rehashed a bunch of times. No, it's
it's
gameplay.
long, uncut footage of gameplay. They do the exact beginning of the game, which I've heard about. I didn't watch, and it's a huge spoiler. And it's like you there.
Oh,
It's
oh
I
no.
okay. So they're showing too much of the game as if to say this game is coming out, guys. Don't worry. So that's one thing. But I want to talk about all the things that they announced at the huge event. Namely, I guess really the only things we can really talk about are Justice Monsters 5 Squad, whatever. The iPhone game just came out. You didn't play it. I dabbled with it. It's not very good, but it's supposed to be like a mini game in the game. So I mean, it's not like we're
Oh,
waiting for this big revelation. Namely, the two big things really I want to talk about is the anime Brotherhood and Kingsglaive, the CG movie.
bum,
And
bum,
because the
bum.
CG movie came out first, technically, and Brotherhood just finished up, I want to start with Kingsglaive. So this released digitally, I think in August, I believe, and it's coming out on DVD in October. But what did you think about it?
Kingsglaive had a lot going on for it. It's a really good to set events up. It did a really good job of building the beginning of the mythology or the world building and setting up a lot of the characters that will be prevalent for the game. I like that they used somebody that was part of the dad's entourage. I guess is that's what he was, right?
The Kingsglaive is, yeah, his basically his royal guard special squad kind of thing, as far as I can gather.
Like Gladiolus will be for Noctis?
I don't know how that whole, because I don't think they're technically glaives for Noctis, but
Right.
that's what like their class thing is, a glaive.
Right, the mythical ninja thing.
I think going off your first part, I don't think they did a very good job of setting up what's going on, but
Oh no, not at all.
it is kind of all over the place, really. I don't know what they really think that they want to do. And if you watch earlier trailers, which I've watched about 20 minutes of trailers, kind of before the event, all the stuff kind of before the event for all the trailers that they showed. And you can kind of see the early Final Fantasy Versus 13 stuff, and then the 15 stuff, and you can kind of see like a lot of this movie from those very early trailers, like that part where everybody stands up at the meeting board and
Yeah.
the Emperor bad guy is gonna kill the king, and I think that was definitely in like the earlier trailers, except some of the things are different. So they obviously, I think this was gonna be part of the beginning of the game, and they decided to kind of stretch and elongate it, which I feel like really it is. They elongated the stuff. I mean, they saved Luna numerous times, and every single time there was like a dire moment. It was like, okay, you gotta save Luna, you gotta go on. But typical story stuff. We're not gonna go on. We're gonna watch you die, and then we're gonna go on. And then the next time that happens, we're also gonna watch you die, and then say you gotta go on, and so on and so forth. It's just so weird. And I mean, that's just like the plot. There's a lot of other things, by and by, I did not like this movie. I thought it was okay.
If you take it as its own independent thing and not, the prequel to the game, I think it has potential of being something interesting. I wasn't thinking about 15 while watching this. I was just thinking, it's just another Final Fantasy movie.
No, I was trying to do that as well, but even if you took it by itself, there's a lot of like plot things that they don't go into, which is
Yeah.
which is one of the points where I wasn't very excited when they announced this whole universe thing before even the game came out. Was they're trying to build this universe for 15 when they should do the opposite. They should release the game and then expand the universe past
Right.
this, and it's like you gotta do like homework in order to get what's going on kind of in the game. Though I think that if you play the game, it's going to be all kind of intact, and they'll probably like do some like, oh, this is what happened, and this is why they're on the road. Whereas the
Right.
movies are, they kind of expect you to maybe know more about the game, and it's just so confusing how they're delivering a lot of this stuff. And I remember
Right.
during that conference, this was supposed to be free. I thought maybe we just misinterpreted
No,
it, but
I remember them. I remember them saying that it was free
they must have changed their
initially.
mind, or maybe there's like a mistranslation or whatever. I mean, it makes more sense that this is not free compared to like the
Oh
anime.
shit! We're not making enough money back on this. Quick!
Yeah, exactly. Especially like after the delay. Which just I want to throw out there that I'm not really mad about, but I am kind of laughing to myself, especially after rewatching the video that we did,
Oh
where I was saying
God!
that they can't delay this, otherwise it's humiliating. They had the big red button. Do you remember? They had the button, and then they had the fake out button, and then they had the invisible button to announce
Right.
the thing. And it was
Oh,
November, and they're like, "Oh no, it's September," but actually it is November. So I almost feel like they're trolling us. I'm not sure what the whole point was, but
I
that's
remember you and me had talked about it like literally a day before.
yeah. I was like, yeah, do you think it's gonna get delayed? No, it's impossible. That's not gonna happen. It's coming out
uh,
in a month. It was probably at the end of August, and
yeah.
yeah, and then it got delayed. I'm like, oh, I cannot believe this is happening.
Oh, we had just talked about it, and I saw it, and I was like, "Oh no, this can't happen.
Ugh.
It's too big to fail."
Anyway, back to the movie. I don't know anything about directing a movie and the cinematography stuff like that, but
Right.
there are parts of this movie where I thought it was edited like someone just starting their own YouTube channel. Do you know what I'm talking about? There's some scenes where it fades to black and then it fades back, and it's just a couple seconds later from that scene, as if they're just hard cuts. Do you know what scenes, some of the things I'm talking about? Also, there's like the
uh,
battle scenes. Some of it was like super blurry.
I think the battle. I don't know about the other part, but for the battle scenes, I think that was on purpose.
Okay, well, I would show as we're talking, I would show clips of this movie right now if not a fear of Square Enix coming down and striking us.
Right.
So I'm just gonna be having a bunch of still images, but I wish I could show the parts that I'm talking about because there are terrible hard cuts to this movie. I mean,
Oh,
the actual like CG of this movie, I
it's
thought was great.
beautiful.
I thought there were times
Like,
where it looked like it
their
was real.
in-house production studio is freaking phenomenal.
But also,
Really top-notch stuff.
like we talked about at the event, it downgrades the game because the movie
Right.
looks so much
Exactly.
better. It's like I said, it's you're doing the things in the opposite way that you should really do them. And if anything, they should have made an anime movie because at least then it's not like they're better, it's just they're different.
Right.
A CG
It's
movie is just
using a
like
different
a
yeah, it's using a different medium, and you're not going to have the expectation that the game's going to look that good. I like it, but I like it because it's just what it is. Ugh. I like it because it's flashy. It's a big flash in the pan. It's really aesthetically pleasing. Like, it's got all the FX, and it does what it does really well for whatever it did.
yeah, exactly. For whatever it did, there are so many confusing things about like the plot. Okay, but the basic plot is there's an evil empire. They've been at war with. I can't
in
remember the
this.
Kingsglaive like country or whatever, but they've
Well,
been slowly taking over like this whole world, and they're then they betray after there's supposed to be a treaty, whatever, and then
right.
I'm not sure what Luna has anything to do with this. I know that she's betrothed to Noctis, but I don't understand
Yeah.
why they want her.
Uh, she. It seemed like she was from the kingdom of Trabian. In the little intro in the beginning, when she's pushing Noctis in the wheelchair, and then
Yeah.
those guys invade and stuff. That's what I gathered. But now she's like a hostage of the Empire, and why does she have to marry Noctis? Just for like the treaty reasons?
I thought that's what it was for, but I don't. It's just weird. Also,
So
at that very end, when they show, I'm not gonna. We're as if it's not pretty obvious. If you haven't seen Kingsglaive yet, we're gonna talk about spoilers with all the things that we're gonna be talking about because that's just the discussion I want to have. I don't want to have any hold bars. Nothing like super major, but for
right.
most of the stuff. That said, at the very end, do you think that was CG or did it look like gameplay when they showed when Noctis driving and stuff?
It's hard to tell.
It looked like it was from the game because it looked downgraded quite a bit. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure,
I
but
mean, it'd be a nice way to just segue into it. Oh, you saw this? Well, this is what you're actually getting.
right. It really felt like too long and a lot of scenes of just chewing up the scenery for like no reason. And
Oh
actually, I
yeah.
can't remember where I heard it from, but someone described this as complicate complicating a very very basic storyline. Do you
Right.
know what I'm really saying? It's just they. It's obvious that Empire's even going to betray him, and that the king knows, but there's just so much. It's just I don't know, and a lot of weird scenes. That battle opening sequence is pretty cool. They had a
Yeah.
weapon, which they do a lot of homage to a lot of Final Fantasy in this
There's a
movie.
lot of
There's
a lot of
weapon.
paying
There's
tribute.
the mechs from like six. There's ultros from like six. Which
I know
why was
the
he in the
octopus.
movie? They don't.
uh, for calling back to a previous Final Fantasy, I think that was the best cameo in a long time.
Yeah, but they kind of just made him a monster, and they didn't make him kooky. And
He looked
it's
like Cthulhu without legs.
yeah, it's like what they did with Deadpool in X-Men Origins, where they sealed his
Oh,
mouth and they gave him all these random powers. Like that's not what that is.
right, exactly.
And the whole portrayal thing of the glaive, I didn't understand where that was coming from. Although, at least from the movie, the one thing I like from the movie is you can kind of see that the king is more. He wants to save his son more than he does care
Mm-hmm.
about like sacrificing some of the other nations, and that's kind of the treaty or the surrendering. Kind of is like, oh, I can't believe he's surrendering, and they stole all of our homes, so that's why they kind of want to go against the king. I guess I can kind of see that, but it's just
Right.
also kind of weird. What about the performances? What do you think about those?
That was my favorite part of the movie. I still was surprised they got Lena Headey.
Yeah,
That's her
I
name.
got. Yeah,
Yeah.
she was really good. I thought
Like,
everyone was pretty good. The lip syncing was kind of off sometimes, but
yeah.
I thought most of the people were pretty good. Oh, there was also a lot of lackluster and some of the like the B parts or whatever. Like
Mm-hmm.
his best friend, I didn't get his squaff at all.
Oh,
He was
Libertus?
he was just kind of useless.
He was just a fucking bitch. I think he obviously liked that girl that was on their team, but she I, I don't know, didn't have
I
feelings
can't remember what
for
her
him,
name was,
or
but they all had really random.
Crow. I think that's what they called her at least.
Everyone had like such Latin
Right,
name.
everyone's got such like Ulrich and
What about
Libertus and
what about the Chancellor? What do you think of him? With his like
uh
one winged angel.
yeah, what are they trying to make him into a cowboy version of Kafka?
People are speculating that he's like the one really behind the scenes, and
I'd believe it.
the doddering emperor is obviously not going to be the one really. Also, did Luna's brother die, or Is
No, he just got burned.
he's
He
okay?
his arm just lit up.
Oh,
Unlike the guy later on that used it,
okay,
he did die because he
okay,
turned like ash and stuff.
completely okay. Also, I kind of learned what this whole I don't know if I think it was in the movie where Noctis is basically out to find like 13 swords in order to like save the kingdom of like the old kings. I can't remember if they said
Oh,
that in the movie or if it was like after when I was looking into stuff. But
I don't remember that, but I it'd be better if it was 15 though, right?
the one thing I don't like is how the actors aren't going to be the same, which
Oh,
kind of demeans
yeah, it's kind
both
of bumming.
actors. Like, well, probably the Hollywood people probably don't care that much, but the people that are playing them in the game are like, why didn't we get to be them in the movie? You know,
Yeah,
I kind of feel bad, and also, man, Luna in the movie and Luna in the game look pretty different. Different. Look
different.
pretty different, but everyone else looks pretty spot on.
Yeah.
Have you like seen a comparison? She
Uh,
looks like I don't know, too real, whereas everyone else's how they're modeled just look like a
yeah.
prettier version or whatever. But I don't know.
I thought Luna looked kind of I don't know. Her character looked kind of weird in the movie. I guess realistic is pretty close, but I don't know. There's something with her, something about the portioning of her face just kind of threw me off.
Maybe I really like how she looks on the game. Yeah, just like very gaunt, I suppose, and just kind of
Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. She looked really sickly.
yeah, she did, and you kind of had to expect that. The king, it was kind of known that he was dead, so we knew that was
Mm-hmm.
going to happen. And because Aaron Paul's not in the game, as far as we knew,
Right.
I expected him to die,
Oh,
and
Sean Bean.
and knew Luna was going to survive. Knew that that other
Mm-hmm.
guy carrying Luna wasn't going to be there because we haven't seen anything for him. But I don't understand. He drove her to the end and then said, "Well, I'm just going to take it on from here."
Yeah.
And I just there's just, like I said, a lot of the parts where I can't go on. You got to save her, and then they stay and watch, and that person dies, and then the same thing, like, oh, do this, and I guess you'll just go on by yourself. Why would you let her go on by herself? She's clear in this game. She's clearly inept at doing anything, but in the all the footage in the game, she seems very adept at doing stuff. It's just a
Right.
weird. The character does. It's just a weird contrast. I don't know if like later in the game, like later. I mean, even in the anime, she seems like more put together in the very small
Right.
scenes that we see here. In this, she's I don't know. Is there anything else you want to like really say?
Uh
Closing thoughts?
you think this is the reason why Nomura got taken off as director? Because he was spending too much time making a movie and not making a game?
They said this took 3 years while they were developing, and I don't think that was the reason. I don't feel any Nomura from this movie at all.
Ah, to be honest, yeah. Now that you say that,
I
Nomura,
I feel like he wanted to focus on the game, but he had very high standards. But then they maybe because it was taking so long, thought maybe we should branch out, and maybe he was against it. It's very hard to say.
right?
We'll probably never know. But again, like I said in the last video, this is like one of the most fascinating games in like that's ever been developed. It's just
Yeah,
so many crazy things. What went on behind the scenes? Why
right.
did they do this movie?
They can make a documentary about the the turbulence in Square Enix as this game was being
Oh my
produced.
god, they would never ever do that. I would, if I had money, Shay, I would invest in some documentary firm and just try and do that myself. But uh, anyway, let's move on to brighter things with Final Fantasy 15 Brotherhood. I think is the official name, and they
Yep.
released the first episode right after that event,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fine. The first episode's fine, but
Yep.
they kind of nothing really happens. It kind of seems like it's the beginning of their journey, maybe a little bit, and then they get
Yeah.
attacked, and then there's like a a cliffhanger, and then the episodes from there have nothing to do with that cliffhanger, making you feel like did they win? what's going on? They didn't say to be continued. It was just kind of a weird thing. And I like the anime a lot more than the movie, but my one problem with it is they do the background, and I love how they illustrated the characters
Mm-hmm.
and gave them more of just kind of like, oh, this is how they know Noctis. But I hate it when things do the flashback thing, and it's like, oh, remember when I helped a sick dog in my past? Let's flashback. Remember when I baked a pie in the past? Let's flashback. They should have just did flash. They should have just did. This is Noctis's party. Today's episode is about Pronto, whatever. And
Right.
let's. It's just kind of a weird because they jumped around, and I don't really know how they fit in the timeline. But a lot of the things from what I've seen from trailers, they've especially when they go to that city, that's like more in the game, I think, than not the beginning. So it's just kind of weird to see stuff from the game come before and not be a prequel, or it's like
Yeah.
smatterings in between to tell about the backstory, which is just kind of strange. That's just my one narrative criticize on that, because
Uh,
especially it was their short episodes, so they kind of wasted some time establishing some plot that didn't really matter to get into the past stuff.
right. I agree with that. I feel like they could have waited to release the anime until after the game or during the game. Don't even tell anybody there's an anime, and then the ones that pre-ordered, they get like the disc in their game, and it's like, oh, what is this? Well, during the game these will take place. So if you want to know more about character backgrounds and whatever, this will help you know that. I don't know. I feel like it would have been nicer as a surprise and not so much, oh, here, this has nothing to do with anything, but we're going to give it to you anyway.
We're gonna build hype. We're gonna release the first episode in March, and then we're gonna piecemeal them off months later.
There you go. Exactly.
Months later, and I think they did one a month, starting in, let's see, September. Like during like June or July, they did like one a month, which is great. But they should have waited to release the first. It's just weird overall. And if they did that, they should have done more episodes to release them all because they're
Oh,
so short anyway.
the cliffhanger at the end of 1 is where they pick up in 5.
Right, I know. Yeah, you you spoiled it.
But then that's a cliffhanger too, cuz it shows you both encounters.
Okay, so the
Uh,
first episode ends, and then like I said, 2, 3, and 4 are about one's about Ignis, Gladio, and then another one's about Prompto. And the last
mhm.
one, it kind of is about the beginning of the tease for when Noctis was young, and then when they last left the fight in the first episode. So they conclude with both things, and then they kind of move on, and it's kind of like, oh, we're gonna get to the game now, is what I feel like they were doing. But
Yeah.
actually, there's another episode, but it only comes in the
Oh.
collector's edition, and it's about Luna though, so it's not like it's about
Oh,
this plot. But it
that's
sucks because I want to know more about her and her
yeah,
assistant. I can't remember what her name is. You know what I'm talking about, the chick with the
oh,
black hair
yeah.
or whatever.
Yep, yep.
And then she had the two dogs, and I feel like they're gonna probably come into something.
I'm wondering about her just because in any promotional thing I've seen, she has like Leviathan around
I
her.
think maybe they know that she's like powerful and she's like a summoning thing, and she doesn't know it yet, and then she discovers that after she leaves. I'm not sure, but let's talk about. We'll skip the first episode, except for there's the diner scene specifically. A lot of subtle things that they kind of tell you about the characters. You kind of see how Noctis is very picky. He's like picking all of his vegetables off his burger,
Extremely picky.
and Prompto's retarded. He squirts ketchup all over the place. And then, I didn't know this until watching this, but I didn't think those soldiers were robots. But they're clearly robots in this
Yeah.
anime or whatever. And I think the fight scenes were awesome. Like, all the action stuff they have is awesome.
Yeah. They're
But
very well put together.
Prompto's episode was weird. They made him super fat. And
He was
then
a fat
he
kid.
fell over once, and then Noctis tried to help him. And he's like, "Ooh, heavy." And he's like, "Heavy? I didn't realize that. I guess I'll slim down for him." It was just a
uh,
weird. They didn't have to make him fat. I just feel like it was a weird anime thing to do for his origin to make him super hot. Oh yeah, you thought he was always super hot? No, he was a fat
no,
fuck.
he worked at it. He worked at being super hot.
And then they flash. I don't even know how many years it took him to lose all that weight, but then
I'm
it,
guessing from middle school to high school.
yeah, or like senior because they're talking about like exams. I feel like he was like towards the end. Also, I know this is a game set in a fantasy reality, but that anime is all about like Japan, and it doesn't feel like the world exists in that same setting. Like it's clearly like a
Yeah.
Japan setting, and
What?
it doesn't get that Final Fantasy or fantasy in general feeling. It just feels very plain.
Yeah, they it if you look at the setup of that classroom, I'm pretty sure that's kanji in the background.
Yeah,
Like
the
up
language
around
is
the
the
border.
language I don't have anything about because in Japan they're speaking Japanese, in other
Well, yeah,
places that are speaking that. I
but a
just
written language is different.
I suppose, but I can let that slide. It's just the whole setting in general.
It was
That's
very
a small
Japanese.
nitpicky kind
Y.
of thing, I suppose. Prompto's a very sweet character. We get to see he's not dumb, and I
Right.
do like his kind of arc. But it's just weird that they made him fat.
uh,
It's just to make him. He's already like the pratfall, like dumb character. They also gotta make him
yeah.
fat. It's just kind of like, come on, guys, you gotta come on.
Well, now he's the Genki boy, the one that's always full of excitement and.
Yeah, he seems useless on a lot of ends because his pistol seems to do nothing.
Pew pew pew.
Okay,
I'm shooting love at you. Pew pew
I
pew.
think my favorite episode was the Gladio one because
Yeah.
I didn't realize like how much older he was
Mm-hmm.
and how much of a brat Noctis really is, and we kind of got to see him kind of evolve and how Gladio kind of thanked him at the end, and then he's like, okay, well now I'll try to work harder, and I liked I think Iris. I've seen her in trailers, and she's supposed to be like super obsessed with Noctis. So at least we got to see a little bit of like the origins for Iris as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I liked it quite a bit. And then Agnes's was good too because the same thing. You
Uh,
got to see how much of man all these things make not like Noctis, but this is pre
right.
game stuff, I
And
suppose.
Nomura said before he got kicked off this that he wanted Noctis to be a character that was unlike any other Final Fantasy character. And the only thing the director that picked up after him said was Noctis was going to be complicated.
Yeah, I like that one moment where they defeated in the last episode. Defeated the weird Ashura looking thing,
Right.
and then he starts crying because that's his dad saved him, and then he kind of just realized that he missed his dad, and that part where he finds out his dad has like a cane, and then he's not like visiting him, that he's like weakening, and it is kind
Right.
of hard, but he kind of typically kind of ignores it. I do like seeing that. Yes, he is kind of a complicated character, but other times it's like you kind of acting a little bit of a shithead.
I think they're trying too hard to make him. They're trying to break the mold too much on what they do with him
Yeah.
that it's becoming a cliche in and of itself.
Yeah, I feel like there's a very strong standards of like Cloud and Squall thrown in there
Right.
of their stubbornness. He seems to at least have some kind of sense of like, I guess some kind of sense of duty, especially like when
Right.
he saves Iris or whatever. I feel like even though I like Cloud, he's doesn't really have much personality, especially like in
No.
the you can't really get that in the game, through text. But in the movies, he's very just kind of a blank slate. Even like the Kingdom Hearts games, he has
Right.
like his moments, but
He's very moody
very
and
monotone. And Squall is just kind of a moody again. They just tried to capitalize on the whole
Squall
angst.
is Squall is Edward from Twilight.
But I don't
Ugh.
really critique them because obviously the Cloud and Squall fanatics will come after us. Also, the Prompto fanatics will probably come after us. Or maybe the support will be
Oh
like, "Yeah,
God.
why they have to show Big Fat? He's not
Uh,
hot anymore."
he's not hot.
He had stretch marks like crazy, I'd imagine.
Yeah, those pictures didn't show that part, did they?
Yeah. Let's see what else. Is there any other like standout moments from
uh,
anything that you want to talk about?
Noctis being obsessed with those stupid little pies.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Like all the things, they look so good. Like every single they take a bite out of them, and show
I
like
saw
the
the
insides.
I saw the one that he was eating for breakfast. I wanted to know what was in that one. Because if it's breakfast, it's got to be something different, right? Not just sweets.
No, I think he was just making sweets for sweet's sake.
Oh, God. He, Noctis would be diabetic by the time the game starts.
I love all the food in this thing, which is what I love about like anime in general. They make the food look so freaking good. All
Mm-hmm.
this, even the plain cheeseburgers, um,
Yeah.
like Prompto's burger thing that he gets home and he eats, which it's obviously like a latchkey kid or whatever. And I'm
Right.
not sure if they left that for him or if he buys it on the way home and he has it every single day. It's just kind of weird.
I
Obviously,
almost want to say he's buying it as he's walking home.
it could be perhaps. I
They
want to know
leave
more
him
about
just
his
enough
family.
pocket
Why
money.
is he being left alone? Also,
Yeah.
how did the dog get home? Their city and where Luna is way off.
Wait a
Way
minute.
off. That dog
Yeah.
made it home? No. A monster ate him. A monster ate him for sure. It's just kind
well,
of weird how fixed him up. Screw you, Prompto. I'm going home to my
well,
whatever.
what if where Noctis is going to high school is the same city where Luna lives?
I don't think so. I think because he visits his dad. I feel like they're in that capital city, and
Right.
because he has to go for training and stuff like that.
Somnia.
Somnia, yeah.
I
That's why
think.
he's tired all the time. Get it?
Well, cause
Noctis, Somnia, tired. I'm sleepy all the time. I'm a sleepy boy.
Noctis's last name is their kingdom. Noctis, whatever,
Lucy
whatever.
Lou. I know. There's so many like long, weirdly complicated
They
Latin
have
names from.
really like complicated Latin names. I
God,
think
just I
that
still can't get over. Noctis is fine, but Ignis, Prompto, and
Prompto,
Gladio.
Gladiolus,
Is that is whatever it is.
Gladiolus.
Gladio. Gladio. Can't
uh,
even say with an Arnold accent. I feel like they just had some guttural thing. Like, yeah, let's turn
I
that into a
think
name.
I think out of Brotherhood, my least favorite episode was the Ignis episode.
It is. It's a kind of a very strict episode, but at least you get to see. Actually, you don't get to see why he was chosen to do the Tanaks, other than he's a very
Right.
proper man, I guess.
Well, when Noctis is little, you see Ignis picking him up from school in the limo or whatever.
Is he like a slave? Is he
I
the
think
butler?
he's his but. I think that's it. It's his best friend, his knight, and his butler. Those are the four you're riding with.
His Michael Jackson glove butler.
Oh God! And Noctis does have a glove, a one-gloved hand.
Yeah, it's funny. But I love the heart
Bromance.
of Brotherhood. I like laugh. I didn't get any joy from the movie because everyone was in just a mood, and even the times when they were joking back and forth, like whatever Ariamis, what the hell are their names?
Uh,
When Paul Rudd and Aaron Paul and his fat friend that does nothing joke back and forth to each other, they don't. I don't feel the love. I didn't feel the love from like anybody. Like no one had to have like any joy. The
no.
king, he seems kind of silly and stuff in like not silly, but he seems
There
to
are
have
parts
some
where
kind of humor in the anime. But in the movie, God, everyone's so freaking dour in that movie. It's like Batman versus Superman. Too much stuff going on. Everyone has a stick up their ass. They don't do the smart things. They elongate.
No.
They elongate. They make the plot more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Whereas this, they were short episodes. They told a story for a little bit of background to see who these people are, and I guess that's that. Also, did you think that was his mom for a while when the Shura thing kills her.
At first, I thought it was just some lady that was there, to watch him. But then when she dies and they state, that's his mom, I was like, oh.
They they never say it's his mom.
I thought they did when the king shows up and they're like, all the people are like crowding around him and stuff.
I don't think so. I think you're right. I think it was just some random woman. And because he never says, avenging you for mom, it was always just like, it almost killed
Oh,
me. And yeah, Noctis never says mom. Like, you would think that that would be part of the thing. We have no
oh,
idea who his mom is. And I don't think it's really, that important, I guess. Maybe that's something to do with why he was sick when he was younger. Maybe,
yeah,
she died at birth and he came out early and he was a
preemie baby.
preemie baby, and that's why I'd be in a wheelchair, which is his only spot in the movie, which was fine because they say like, oh, he's on his road already, but I feel like that was just to be like, yeah, they're not going to be in this movie because we probably want to get Hollywood stars as well, and we don't want to do that for four more people and complicate matters even more in terms of voiceover.
Hmm.
So yeah, the media, just like I predicted, is making me not excited for the game. It's having the opposite effect of what you would think that they would want, which is
To
making
build hype.
to build hype. But I think if they did in the opposite order, or like you said, kind of not release it in the game as a disc for the anime, but do it after the game is out, like they did with like Persona 4. I play the
Yeah.
entire game and then I watch the anime. It's like, oh, going back to all these plot points, like, oh, how did they do that from a video game to how they translate into an anime? It's good. I just watched the first season of Danganronpa. Again, they did a really good job of summarizing what happened in that game, and I think they should do that a lot more with anime because there's been a lot of like game animes recently, and a lot of them are just kind of. I don't want to get into a whole thing of it, but I think this would make a really good, 24 episode season of something if they really shortened things out, obviously, and got to like the main points. Just, I thought the animation was good, and I got a lot of joy from that party, which I'm glad at least I like the party because if I didn't like the four of them, obviously
Right.
it would make the whole entire game crappy. But who's to say what the plot's going to be like? But I mean, I just want to get this game on my hands so I can like get out of my life and be like, fine, this game is over. I want to know. I want to know what this game is. Is this gonna be like super good? Is the movies and stuff kind of bad because of no one really cares? They just kind of want to put something out
Right.
in the meantime to make up for it. But there's two other projects too, Shay. We'll end with that. I think we talked about this before, but not on that stream because they announced it afterwards.
Hmm.
There's the Kingsglaive beat 'em up. We talked about this, right?
Oh yeah, it comes with as a pre-order for the game, right?
It's only at GameStop. So they're making another game, a game that I actually care about. It's an old school brawler with the king and some other people you can play as well.
Well, I
And
hope you get to be his what's his face if it's the Kingsglaive game.
no, it's like when he was like kind of super young.
Oh,
So it's not like his glaive stuff. It's kind of when he was just starting to be a king, as far
oh,
as I've seen. But making, I hate when stores have exclusive
right.
DLC. But if it's like an item or something, that's fine because who the hell cares? This is a full fledged game that I know for sure that they're going to sell, obviously by itself after some time. But it just kind of sucks because that would actually be something that I would like to play before I play the game. Because even if I pre-order that thing, I would just play the game and not even care about that beat 'em up until after I beat the game.
Hmm.
Because that's not what I want to play when I have the actual game in my hands. Did you hear about King's Night?
Yes, but
Do you remember
for
play? Did you play that as a kid? I remember playing at my cousin's house and not having much fun. And after like looking into it, um, it got really bad scores back in the day. But King's Night basically just celebrated its 30th anniversary, and on the 30th anniversary, which was the 19th, I think, they announced that they're kind of remaking the game, and also it's a sequel. It's a remake and a sequel, as far as I can really tell.
Hmm.
and it's kind of like a shoot 'em up with like a thief, a mage, a lizard thing, knight. Did I say them all? Knife, thief, whatever. Shoot 'em up. And the game is going to expand. This new remake is going to expand. Like, oh, there's going to be tons of big characters you unlock. And it's going to be like multiplayer, so you can play with your friends via your phones or whatever, which is fine. But it's set in the Final Fantasy 15 universe, but not really. It's just another game that they play in that universe. It's not in the universe technically.
Oh.
It's just a weird thing to include. So it's going to come up before the game. I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be free to play. I don't know. It might be, but you can also buy it to play in the game, which seems weird.
That does seem kind of odd.
Yeah, it's gonna be like DLC so that you can see them play all together. It's just, why are they adding another thing into this? It just makes, again, so worried. Why are they adding all these dumb things before the game comes out?
Mm-hmm.
I'm worried it's gonna get delayed again because they keep on focusing on this other stuff. Obviously, they have different divisions, but
Yeah. That makes me really worried because, like you said, why are they adding all this stuff? Why can't. I guess it's just the era that we're in. But you remember when games used to come out and they didn't come with DLC?
yes, or they came out and they worked. There was no patches, which that's like the main reason I talked about was the game is finished, but if they released it in September, it would be a huge patch, and a lot of people couldn't download it. So they decided to put that in the game in development, and then there wouldn't really be a patch when it launches, but then probably still they're just basically polishing the game. So at least that's good, and that's a good reason, I suppose. I want this game to be good, so if they want to take some time, swell. But at the same time, it just because they inflated it so much of that stupid event, and there's so much content that has nothing to do with the game out there. It's just weird and worrisome.
Right.
So that's basically my entire thoughts on the situation of Final Fantasy 15 right now.
Oh,
I'm
I
so
hope it's
excited, but
good.
I'm so worried. Again, these things kind of have nothing to do with the game.
Right. It's all the politics and the mystery that has gone on with 15. I mean, God, this game is announcement wise, it's over 10 years old, and that's like
That's announcement. Who knows how long they've been developed before they announced it? Which
right.
I think actually when they announced it, it was just that CG trailer and the concept, and then they probably started developing it like pretty much kind of like right after. So either way, still from announcement, it's been 10 years. So
10 freaking years, and
who knows if how long they worked on it? Because
right.
they probably stopped for like a good session, and it's just weird.
Well, and
I'm also worried that this game is not going to be complete. It's going to be on a cliffhanger and be like, oh, it's Final Fantasy 15 too, even though we said we weren't going to do that. But they also said they were going to have DLC, and they already have plans for DLC as well. Which is
yeah.
another thing that they announced just after they delayed the game. Or was it before? I can't remember.
It was
I think it was after because it was to
yeah.
smooth things over, but it's like, why?
Yeah, cuz now you can have the Masamune.
It's just so many dumb things. I want to play this game. I don't know how many times I have to say this before we end this, but I just want to play this game. Also, oh, hey, another thing that when I watched the video, you hadn't got a PS4 yet, and we talked about you need to get a PS4 or an
Oh yeah.
Xbox One for this thing, and you said I'll definitely be getting a PS4. So
And I did get a PS4.
yes, and now the circle is complete. Um,
Weirdly enough, the first thing I downloaded when I got my PS4 was the Platinum demo.
yeah, so that was also announced the thing, which I feel like not even like kind of worth talking about because it was great, but I actually had
Mhm.
already played a lot of the game because of the Final Fantasy Type Zero demo came with Disgaea, not Disgaea, episode Disgaea.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, just all the episode Disgaea and that Platinum demo just made me excited for playing the game, and a lot of other stuff didn't make me excited. It's just all very weird.
Oh,
But be sure we'll be obviously having another Final Fantasy 15 podcast
right.
discussion roundtable after the game comes out, and hopefully we have more positive things to say, like, "Wow, Shay, were we wrong? This game is
Right.
fantastic. Oh, all that stuff we kept on, yammering about, nothing to worry about. That's what I hope.
Square, you did a good job.
I see your plan all along. That movie was very necessary. I understand now. I don't want to be saying that.
The TV show makes sense. Hey, if you come out and say that movie completely was worth it and added so much to the plot, I'm worried about the plot.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known anything if I didn't watch the movie. In fact, they don't talk in the car at all. All the bro things that happen in the anime, yeah, they're silent. No one says anything.
No one says a damn thing. You just have the radio on the whole time.
We cut dialogue. I hope we can at least talk about this in November. Well, it will be more like December because it comes out so late. I hope we can talk about this in December and actually playing the game and not, hey, remember when that was supposed to come out? Nope. Let's talk about the 10 other spin-offs that have come out since then.
Oh, they cut all the dialogue so you could buy it as DLC.
Do you guys want a sequel to Chrono Trigger?
Yeah!
Well, then, we're very excited to announce that we're going to be releasing a free-to-play MOBA card game for the iOS that you can play in Final Fantasy XV.
Oh,
what else?
Did you want another sequel of 13?
Did you know Lightning is a swappable partner for Prompto? Prompto becomes a lady. Who's that lady?
Prompto's a lady.
Yeah. You got a sexy mini game where you can either choose him to be fat or he becomes lightning. Do you guys like Cookie Mama? Well, we're proud to announce Ignis Mama. That's right. Ignis has a bunch of little children and he has to feed them.
Oh, God.
Did you like that movie where that Channing Tatum took off his clothes? Well, now we announced Deuce Bigelow, male Gladiator. Guys, we're recording this at 3 a.m. So this last part here is just very built up. What else? Any other bits before we end this?
As much as I love Game of Thrones, I feel like Game of Thrones is what made Kingsglaive bad. They wanted to add so much tension and so much.
Do you want Final Fantasy 15 to release?
Yeah.
Too bad. We're making another movie, and Jon Snow's gonna be in it, and his fat fucking friend.
Nothing but fat Prompto.
His name is Riptooth Dominus.
He'll join Noctis.
Did you think that Luna could make it to the gate by herself? Nope, there's a 10-hour movie between her and the gate. She jumps over cars and...
Oh, she wears 1 billion hair accessories. Never figures out their tracking devices the whole time.
Do you like Street Fighter V? Well, then you'll like Final Fantasy 15 5, which is a fighting game with all your favorite characters.
Fat Chocobo.
Fat Prompto. We're way past due here. So, again, Thank you for listening. Yep. We hope to see you back in December where we have a roundtable discussion on Final Fantasy 15's release. Bye.
Yay. Bye.
Did you know that was a Reaction Examiner video? If you liked it, you should subscribe to me to keep up with everything that I'm doing. Also, if you have some other interests, like sex for example, check out Tomops, which is a comedy sex podcast thing wherein my best friend and I check out the weird and abnormal and the erotic. And of course, you should support me on Patreon because, hey, I want to make the channel better and I want your help to do so. Plus, if you want to check out my writing, check out Game Jerk, where I have archives and new stuff for all projects, okay? You can find all the stuff and more in the description with the links below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all next time.